Hello Rough Cutters, Adam Stanchek, and I'm going to do my movie review for you. First, I want to take the opportunity to welcome our newest Rough Cut member, Jim Caviezel. I've heard of your work, and I'm excited to see what you do. It seems like every other Rough Cutter has done a movie review of a movie that they just hated. So I figured I may as well review one that I thought sucked too. I normally am the kind of guy who, if I'm watching a movie, I'll watch the whole thing. I don't ever walk out of the theater. I've never walked out of the theater. And if I rent something, I'm gonna watch it. I start watching it, I'll watch the whole thing. That said, this movie, I only watched probably 5 to 15 minutes of it, yet I still feel like I can give you a review of it. The movie is Farce of the Penguins. It came out in 2006, which is when I was still working at the movie store, and I felt it was my job to watch almost all the movies. And so I rented a lot of stuff, even a lot of stuff that I didn't think I'd really be too interested in. I'm normally really good at finding the good in movies. But let's talk about... There's nothing good to say about this movie. The movie is made, written, and directed by Bob Saget, and they took a bunch of stock footage of penguins and they just dubbed over it like America's Funniest Home Video style. Now, this movie came out right after the movie March of the Penguins came out, and they were trying to somehow play off of that fame, that huge industry, March of the Penguins, but do it in some comedy style. Now, I don't know exactly how this movie ends or what the plotline is because, like I said, I stopped watching it. But that's a huge thing for me to say, so it's at least worth mentioning. The failures in this movie were that it wasn't a parody of March of the Penguins. Maybe it was trying to be a parody of March of the Penguins, but it was... I mean, they listed on Internet Movie Database as a mockumentary, and it's definitely not a mockumentary because they didn't film anything. I don't think they filmed anything. I didn't watch the whole thing, but from what I saw, it looked like they just took really grainy, ugly footage of uninteresting penguins, and it had uninteresting voiceovers over it. When I was a kid, I used to play that game with my sisters, where you'd put the TV on mute, and you would talk over the characters, and you'd say all the things they weren't saying. For instance, you could be like, "My name's Adam. I'm a pretty, pretty princess. I really love ham." Something like that. This movie seemed to be like a failed version of that. It has a lot of big comedians in it, and they have Sam Jackson do the Morgan Freeman role of March of the Penguins. He does the narration. But it didn't interest me at all when I was watching it. And I can watch really stupid things. I love really stupid things. I love dry humor, and I love parody. And yeah, so when I was watching this movie, I was hoping it was going to be Kung Pao. Which, if you haven't seen that movie's fantastic. That should have been the one that I was reviewing. But I'm not going to review it, because I'm doing a bad movie. But Kung Pao, they use old movie footage from, Kung Fu movies, and they, replace people's faces, and they have just the funniest thing for everybody to say, and it's, really good, really funny, weird humor. But... for this Farce of the Penguin, it just seems to be really lazy, stupid. They went with the first joke they thought of for each moment. It was supposed to be raunchy. You know, Bob Saget is raunchy. But he just got a bunch of comedians, and he was like, okay, here's some footage of a penguin trying to make something funny about it. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it gets better. I didn't give it a chance past the first 15 minutes. But there was absolutely nothing interesting about it. It was just horrible. I can't see a situation where you're at a party and people are watching this. So it's not going to be too hard to avoid this movie. But I still at least wanted to tell you guys an example of a movie that I just hated. I mean, I even liked some parody movies that were bad. Like The Comebacks and stuff like that. That was what that was called, right? With that one dude in it. There's bad... and then they're just unwatchable. And I like bad in many situations, but Farce of the Penguins, totally not watchable. So don't waste your time.